Ethiopia is cradle of mankind, one of the greatest ancient civilizations with a multi-ethnic, multilingual and multi-religious society. A land that never succumbed to colonialism and became a beacon of freedom for many African and black people in the world. A name mentioned in Abrahamic religious holy books many times, a country with an immense natural and human resources, Ethiopia. At the beginning of the first millennium, Ethiopia successfully created an advanced civilization. However, during the second millennium, it deteriorated from being one of the most advanced nations on earth to that of being one of the poorest. Primarily, the failure of Ethiopia's ruler to recognize diversity, both ethnic and religion, and accommodate the needs of these groups caused strife, civil unrest, and protracted wars. Not taking the advantage of the natural resources, poor economic policies for decades has ruined the country and turned it from once a great country to the one that is not able to feed itself. Images of Ethiopian starvation have held the imagination of the outside world for a long time. The pre-1991 regime failed to prevent recurring famine caused by natural calamities. The failure to improve the socio-economic condition, health, and lives of the people of Ethiopia has caused poverty and widespread famine that cost many thousands of lives. The regimes that ruled the country were not ready to recognize its diversity and lacked the willingness to extricate it from poverty. In the contrary, they exploited the wealth of the people, suppressed their rights, and made the country deteriorate.
There is no point in fighting if the people are finished. This is the saddest time in my life. I have seen many desperate times, but none of them is as desperate as this one. Because the people that I am fighting for are dying because of lack of food. They are hardworking, but because of lack of support, because of lack of scientific agricultural practices, these people are dying because of no fault of themselves. That's the toughest thing for a fighter to face.
The age-long struggle of the Ethiopian people against oppression at the end of the 20th century is the fault of the last regime. From the late 60s to the end of the 80s, many Ethiopians joined armed opposition groups to fight the imperial regimes and its successor, the military junta. There were 18 armed opposition groups at the end of the Mengistu regime. On May 28, 1991, with the outstanding leadership of Meles Zenawi, the fighters of Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, brought the largest army in sub-Saharan Africa to its collapse. After the overthrow of Mengistu regime, all political groups agreed to the creation of a transitional government. At the end of the period of transitional government, for the first time in Ethiopia's history, the Ethiopian constitution gave answer to ethnic groups' rights, individual and people's freedom, without any sexual, religious, or cultural discrimination. New policies were formulated, emphasizing peace, democracy, and development as the basis for national survival. Ethiopia also started playing a constructive role in maintaining peace and security in the Horn of Africa. In a short period of time, encouraging results and double-digit growth have been recorded. The government's commitment to improve the livelihood of its citizens proved that Ethiopia is on the right track to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. The world at large is paying homage to Ethiopia's phenomenal growth through direct and indirect investment. Ethiopians are now rebuilding their country in a new basis, striving to regain what they lost and to join the ranks of middle-income nations. We call this Ethiopian Renaissance. Thanks to the martyrs who made the May 28 victory a reality, Ethiopia has started its renaissance at the beginning of the Ethiopian millennium 10 years ago. People of Ethiopia and all democratic forces will also continue to admire the legacy of the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi. Meles made important and strategic contributions to advance the 17 years armed struggle in formulating military doctrine and strategy, and played a central role in mobilizing the masses and in organizing the EPRDF. Meles proceeded to frame a constitution whereby Ethiopia's people freely joined together to form a single political and economic space and a united democratic order. Meles's capacity for leadership was seen beyond Ethiopia and Africa as a whole and international fora. Meles guided his country from extreme poverty to economic growth and development. He was a great spokesman for Africa on global issues, climate change, development, and in promoting peace and stability. He was one of the African leaders who stood at the forefront of African Renaissance, who initiated and implemented infrastructural linkage with Ethiopian neighbors with the aim of regional integration. Meles became to be an historic figure over the course of his short life of 57 years. His character and work will always remain in the memory of the Ethiopian people. Tributes were paid to Ethiopia's exceptional leader, the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, for his outstanding contribution to the renaissance of both Ethiopia and Africa. Meles' message to the young was, "It is my wish that you will not have to experience the strife and suffering that was the lot of my generation, and that you shall enjoy a brighter future. Our struggle will not culminate in the lifetime of those who initiated it. One might say that our struggle is not a marathon, but more akin to a relay race, where those who run earlier pass on the baton to those who come later." According, the process of bringing a new generation of leaders to power, which started during Meles's period, is smoothly taking place, and Ethiopians are confident that this new generation of leadership will build up on what Meles and his government started. As Meles has once said, there is no greater indignity than poverty. The people of Ethiopia this time stand together to fight their common enemy, poverty. Creating job opportunities, professional training, give hope and mental shift from we can't to we can in the young generation. By approach viable economic strategies, the government began to bear fruit, which is reflected in an average 10% economic growth in the last 10 successive years. This growth is the highest among the non-oil economies in Africa. What is more important is that the vast majority of Ethiopians are benefiting from this development. Ethiopia has launched the construction of 2,000-kilometer railway and over 80,000 kilometers of road upgrading and construction. It has embarked massive development of the manufacturing sector and urban development. Ethiopia is building the Grand Renaissance Dam by her own expense. This dam, when completed, will generate 6,000 megawatts of electric power. The full realization of Ethiopia's development is yet unfinished. It is a work in progress. However, we Ethiopians believe that we are on the proper track. The current growth and transformation is like big dream, but we Ethiopians have one proverb to say. Yenebrin Chira, Aizotem, Kaizotem, Ailekutem. It means one might as well be hanged for a sheep as for a lamb.